Well, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for the opportunity to again address the Chamber Luncheon. This is an event that I always look forward to each year. Before I get started, I just want to say some thanks first to Patty and Sean and the board members of the Chamber for the great partnership that we share between the Chamber and the school district. I also want to thank Skip Priest, Mayor Priest, Chief Wilson. Is Gordy Olson here, the fire department? Great relationship with police, fire, and city. And Woodstone and Highline, thank you so much for sponsoring this event and all that you do for the kids of the Federal Way school system. And I also want to point out that we have a table full of students here from Decatur, the personal finance class with Jeannie Storvik. So I'm going to mix things up a little bit from what I've done in the past. I tend not to use PowerPoints, but I'm going to use a PowerPoint today. And I'm going to present in three segments. Our first segment will be some success that we've had over the past year. The second segment will be my view, a brief summary of American public education, and the third part will be the implications that it has for Federal Way. So with that, let's start with the successes. As you know, we passed the capital levy to rebuild Federal Way High School, improve 19 playgrounds throughout the community, and upgrade our security systems in all of our schools. And what's really nice about this, we have with us Kelly Tanner and Chris Milholland from the Citizens for Federal Way schools here, and great work on this levy. What's really wonderful is that these two ladies spearheaded a group that took a February defeat. I think we came in at about 47.5% yes votes to 60% plus in the November election. So what this allows us to do is not only rebuild the namesake school, but we have an opportunity and obligation now to look at what public education is going to look like in 5 years, 50 years, 75 years from now. And this is going to be a really cool conversation. So with that, you may have heard that the Federal Way Public Schools are part of a consortium of school districts in the region called the Roadmap. And this group have been working collaboratively for the last 2.5 years with the goal of increasing graduation dramatically in the South Sound region. And we partnered up together, the 7 districts, Seattle, Tukwila, Highline, Auburn, Kent, Federal Way, and Renton. And we submitted a grant for the new U.S. Department of Education Race to the Top District application, competitive grant process. Out of 392 applications submitted throughout the country, we were one of 16 winners. What's significant about this is we were one of only 2 $40 million winners, the top prize in the competition. And there's 3 components. We will have funds now to support our pre-kindergarten through grade 3 literacy work, our middle school STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math work. And the third part is Start Strong, STEM Strong, and Stay Strong. And the third part is built on the work that we've done here in Federal Way, and that is to ensure that students increase their access to the PSAT and SAT test during the school day at no cost to the students, and that we increase the number of kids participating in the Advanced Placement International Baccalaureate programs. And with that, our Academic Acceleration program is now in its 3rd year, and we have increased access to our most rigorous programs by 200% as a district, 195% as a district. And get this, every subgroup has increased, and some as dramatic as our multiracial students, 1,400% more students taking Advanced Placement International Baccalaureate and Cambridge classes. Our Pacific Islander students, a 600% increase, Hispanic students, a 400% increase, and our African American and Native American students, a 200% increase in kids who are traditionally underrepresented and underserved taking the most rigorous classes. As a result, all 4 of our high schools were awarded the Washington Post Challenge List, which means we're among the top 1,900 schools in the nation with rigor. That puts us in the top 9%. Only 30 schools in the state made the list. All 4 of our comprehensive schools made it, with Federal Way High School coming in at 7th, Decatur 16th, TJ 26th, and Todd Beamer 27th. In addition, the College Board, who administers the SAT, PSAT, and Advanced Placement programs, awarded us an AP Honor Roll School District because we have increased 15.8% more Fred Way high school students, well, high school, not high school, but all of our high schools, took 9.4% more AP exams, and get this, with that increased number of kids taking a test, performance rose 38%. Last year, even though it was a very difficult year with our implementation of standards-based education, reading scores were up throughout the district, math scores were up throughout the district, and elementary test scores basically went about doubled this past year. Last month, we signed a an agreement, a memorandum of understanding with the Korean consulate, which allows students who are first-generation Korean students or speaking Korean in the home, that if they pass a Korean assessment test called the TOPIK, they can earn up to 3 high school credits for their language proficiency. So no longer in this district is a first language at home a deficit, it's an asset. Our school board 2 months ago was recognized by the Washington State School Directors Association as a board of distinction for their work that they've done in closing the achievement gap and providing these programs and services to our kids. Congratulations to the school board. On October 2nd, we had a unique opportunity to launch the first of its kind in America, an event called We Day. It'll be called We Day Seattle, put on by a group called Free the Children. So on October 2nd, we had Pete Carroll, the coach of the Seahawks, Richard Sherman, the outspoken cornerback for the Seahawks. Did I say that nicely? I love the guy. I love those Seahawks. Craig Kielburger himself, you may have seen him. He was just featured on 60 Minutes over the Thanksgiving weekend. We had dignitaries from some of our largest corporations in the state, as well as political leaders, local and statewide, to help us with that launch announcement. And what We Day is, or Free the Children are, is a group that entices kids, if you will, to get into service. And through community service locally and a global act, students can qualify, earn their way in, not have to pay a price, to an event called We Day. This is, and it's hard for you to see, but that's Rogers Arena in Vancouver, and I'm looking down at 22,000 students who are taking on a day of activities, a 6-hour day event with some of the top musical artists in the world who perform that day. We have international speakers such as Desmond Tutu. They announced already that Mikhail Gorbachev will be one of the speakers here in Seattle on March 27th. I have it on good word that this handsome young man, the guy to your left, Magic Johnson, will be here. I actually had that for Tony Moore because he loves magic and he's not here today. I'm a little disappointed. And so we are a partnership with these folks, and if you may recall that our students and some who are sitting here today were part of an event called We Scare Hunger. They went out Halloween night. They had a rally. About 400 students showed up. They raised 10,000 pounds of canned food goods for the Multi-Service Center, this single largest event for the Multi-Service Center in history. And our kids are active locally and they're active globally, and our We Day ambassadors have just decided to adopt Sierra Leone in Africa. So, wonderful opportunity as we move forward in our international work and our local work. In addition, Treese Moore, under the direction of Treese Moore, we procured a $100,000 grant from the Gates Foundation to further our family and community engagement work. With Nancy Hawkins and our friends at Highline, we have just announced the only in state of Washington Career Start. So it's like Running Start, but we have 11 career field programs where students can go get a 2-year degree while attending high school, leave high school with certification to enter the workforce. And we are going to be opening a composite manufacturing program so that our students can be eligible to be working for Boeing as well as any of the composite manufacturing industry providers. Congratulations to Taft Academy as they won a National Intel Schools of Distinction Award. They also, along with Woodmont, won a state-level Washington Schools of Distinction Award. Lakeland Elementary won a School Design Award. Congratulations to Rod Leland, Jeff Soltesz, who were part of that design process, and Rudy Bacchus here today for Sunnycrest Elementary and their dual language program where their students are learning to speak Spanish all day, every day. Well, half the day, every day. Staff success. Michael Selfbentz, a psychologist at Sunnycrest, was awarded the Washington State Psychologist of the Year. Georgina Hernandez from Mirror Lake, a National Communities and Schools Unsung Hero Award. And Danny Smith and Darcy Borg procured Camelot with the U.S. Department of Education Green School Award. Student success. We have 5 National Merit semifinalists. We have Paul Kellebu from Todd Beamer was accepted to MIT. He was also offered a scholarship to a historically black college on the spot when they visited us last year, and he is also a semifinalist for the 2013 National Achievement Scholarship Program. And we have a Miss Teen Washington, we have a 2-time state champion swimmer, we have an accomplished artist, we have an auto technician who took 3rd place from Decatur this summer on in a national competition, and of course we have the Thomas Jefferson math team who's been recognized locally, statewide, and nationally every year. So with that, I'll change gears a little bit. This is a fishing village in Ireland. And what you may notice, the screen is a little bit dark. From my angle, it's kind of hard to see. But down in the water, there's a van that's upside down and a man standing on that van. You may also notice that there's a crane that has been deployed to pull the van out of the water. Do you see that? Okay. The next slide will show you that the crane is successfully removing the van from the water. And I think you might notice, if it's not too dark for you, that now you've attracted a whole bunch of men who are standing around with their hands in their pockets and very, very happy with the success of this physical dilemma. But this third slide shows that perhaps their thinking wasn't all that solid. Now, rumor has it that right there around the corner where those vehicles are parked, there's a pub. Perhaps those two things are linked. I don't know. I don't want to make assumptions. So, of course, the thinking that got us into this mess, it got compounded. What would be the logical thing to do next? And that is, of course, to bring in a larger crane. So obviously now this has some leverage arms. We're going to be safe and secure. We're going to pull the van out of the water as well as the other crane. And what do you think happens next? Nice. Now keep this little photo story in mind as we move forward. My view of public education in America. The next set of slides, I'm going to move quickly. Begin with, and I'll drop back a little bit to last year when I talked, actually the last 2 years. Thomas Jefferson designed, really, arguably the first American public education system in the Commonwealth of Virginia, which was designed to, if you recall, by quote, select and sort, select the best boy of genius out of the Commonwealth to send them on to William and Mary College to study science, while the residue was dismissed. But around the turn of the 20th century, the politicians, business leaders, clergy, academics got together and decided that public education is a great place for the assimilation of all the immigrants and the social engineering of this thing called the industrial age. So in 1900 to 1910, they began adding to that core foundation of reading, writing, and arithmetic, as we all know, with programs that over the decades you'll recognize as being very important. But as this list grows, you'll notice that not too many things fall off the list. And I'm not suggesting that these things are bad, but over time, American public education, like our crane story, takes on more and more and more responsibility. And in particular, if you look at what happens next in the 1970s, that kind of is at the same time as really the beginning of the breakup of the American family as we knew it at that time. Watch what happens in the 80s and 90s. 80s and 90s continued. Now you also see in there that there were some Republican and Democrat initiatives in there, No Child Left Behind, and now we have the Race to the Top, which we obviously are a part of. But what's happened over time is that our school system has taken on so much responsibility. Unlike any other school system in the world, we're no longer just educating kids, we're raising them. And what I struggle with, like the crane story, is that we have this thinking that was generated back in the industrial age. You're aware maybe perhaps of the work of Frederick Taylor, who designed a study, released a study on the science of productivity, which became time and motion. Become more efficient, more effective, increase profitability. And that thinking has been applied to our public school system. And this is what it's resulted in. And now, what I'm not going to sit here and suggest that what we're doing is bad or wrong, and at the time it probably made sense, but we're at a point now where we are raising children, and then we have this very narrow focus on how we consider our school's success and what's happening comparatively throughout the world. So, with that, in a recent book, Surpassing Shanghai, that really went on to say just how great the education system is in Shanghai, some other countries as well, how bad America's doing. Our president called it a Sputnik moment, and our Secretary of Education called it a wake-up call. But we've always been bad test takers, and I talked about this last year. I know this slide is hard to see, but if you take the time, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time with it here today, we have always, beginning in the 60s, been last or close to last, and we've stayed there until recently where we're starting to show some gains. Is this good news? Perhaps. But this is a really interesting graph. So what you have on your left, and I know you can't see the countries, but a lot of the Asian countries, some of the Scandinavian countries are on the left. Those are your highest achieving countries as the red graph shows, the red bars show. The United States is about 6th from the right. And what the blue bars represent is entrepreneurial capability, creativity, innovations, and how well those countries are poised to be the creative leaders in the world. And what this slide suggests from probably the most respected global entrepreneurial think tank is that there's a direct negative correlation between test performance and creative societies. So the good news is we've always been bad test takers. So this creativity issue has become the new economic driver, and world leaders know it. Chinese premier knows it. How about this? Education reform from Taiwan, because they came out with their test scores, they're very high performing on the international exams, and they've come out with these reform strategies. First of all, reform the entire system, lower academic pressure, break the shackles of testing, give students back the joy of learning. Whoa. The Asian countries have figured out what we're trying to get away from. They're trying to become more like us. They're trying to become more creative and innovative, and they know that they have some cultural norms that they've got to break. At the same time, we're renorming our society to get away from that respect of the individual and the interest of the student as being the driver of what students should be learning and how they should be learning. So, at your table, take a minute, and I'm going to give you 30 seconds. These are alphabetical. Give me your top 3 at your table, and then I'm going to call on a couple tables real quick. Give me your top 3 most creative countries from that list. Go. And I'm a little defensive about this because schools have taken a really bad rap in America as being one of the reasons that the economy is suffering. No, we're not. If we are, then I sure as heck missed the press release when we were awarded all the awards when the economy was booming. Here's the reason, is because manufacturing output, jobs that used to be in the manufacturing sector, they're gone. Yet manufacturing output has skyrocketed. Why? Technology, offshoring, whatever. Keeping that in mind, the creativity piece that we just talked about, this was a quote from President Obama at the 2011 State of the Union address, and I'm going to read it. America still has the largest, most prosperous economy in the world. Everyone applauded. No workers are more productive than ours. No country has more successful companies or grants more patents to inventors and entrepreneurs. We're the home of the world's best colleges and universities where students come to study. More students come to study than any place on earth. I agree, but check this out. Headline United States, 53% of college grads, unemployed or underemployed. Korea, China, Spain, South Africa. American college debt, $875 billion, now surpasses credit card debt in this country. 20-something magazine just said that, according to their survey, 85% of May college graduates are planning on moving back home. I don't know about you parents in the audience, but that doesn't... So here's the deal. I don't want to belabor the point, but here is the point. You take that little crane story and put it into your mind. You put it into perspective of what American public education has taken on. You take those indicators of which we're compared by, which I think is way too narrow. And I think we're better than we've ever been. I think that what we're comparing ourselves against is the wrong target. And I think we're misaligned for the needs of this society, of the one that we're living in now. So what does this mean for federal way schools? If you can't see it at the bottom, the Stone Age did not end because they ran out of stones. Washington State economy, 40% is based on international trade. Washington State economy ranks second in the country in the new economy, which is knowledge-based, global, entrepreneurial, and innovation-based. Boeing, 79 countries around the world, it makes up their supply chain. 80% of their backlog is non-U.S. Companies or customers. How about the agricultural industry? $8 billion annually, internationally. So what does this mean for our school system? That the skill set that we have got to ensure that our kids have, I call the new economy competency skills. Confidence. And I didn't go into the slides that show the correlation of high test scoring countries and confidence. Confidence among Americans is really high, and perhaps not so much so when they compare themselves and their math scores. But friends, risk-taking. We don't do enough of that as parents and in our school system. We want our kids to be successful all the time. They've got to experience failure. One of the things that is the greatest gift to those who are entrepreneurial is the ability to be risk takers, the ability to fail and come back and learn from that failure. There's opportunity, passion, creativity. These are the skills that we have got to ensure our kids have to be competitive in this new world that we're all living in. So what are we doing in Federal Way? We will continue to be committed to equity and excellence. They have been mutually exclusive under the select and sort model for decades. They are not mutually exclusive. We can have equity and we can have excellence, and I showed you some slides on that earlier. We need to find ways to engage our kids in the academic school program and meet the needs of the whole child. We need to address the disproportionate discipline issues. Children that are African American and Hispanic are disproportionately disciplined. Why? Because we have cultural issues that we have got to learn, understand, and embed into our instructional design in our system. And this isn't easy. We have a traditionally white staff teaching a very diverse community of students that didn't exist 10, 15 years ago. We're a minority-majority school district. We're becoming a minority-majority country. And if we don't address those issues of equity and excellence, then we are going to be in a real deep hole economically, and how we're going to have to pay for that citizenry who is not prepared to compete. We need to create kids who are global citizens. We are in the process of partnering right now with the University of Oregon and a gentleman by the name of Dr. Yang Zhao. Our Internet Academy curriculum is going to go international this summer. We are going to, my goal, my vision for our students, and I'm going to say this firsthand, this is mine, and remember, vision is something that we don't have the funds or the capacity for yet, is that our students are all going to speak at least one additional world language. Our students are going to have, all students, the opportunity to study abroad, that they're going to have international internships if they so choose, that we're going to partner up with schools, systems, business around the world to bring resources in and send kids to in Federal Way. And lastly, we're going to create innovative and creative thinkers. Not create them, but we're going to instill that in our kids. We're not going to teach it out of them. Our standards-based education system was designed to bring focus to what the teachers are teaching, but to empower the teachers to be creative around those standards, to linger in the learning, and to make magic in their classrooms. And we are going to become a fine arts community, a destination in the fine arts world in curriculum. We are going to expand our music programs in the elementary, and our kids are going to have opportunities in the arts and in their areas of interest, whether it be athletics, arts, career training, and our work that we're doing with Highline, and we're going to expand our elective programming. Our board has given us permission to review and recommend new graduation requirements. And this is a conversation that we're going to engage the community in, because we have an unbelievable opportunity with the passage of the levy that's going to rebuild Federal Way High School. We have to talk about what education is going to look like in the future. We have to design a building that can accommodate the needs now and what we foresee. And in the process, we have an opportunity to build on the success that we've already put into place, and we have the opportunity to lead the nation in creating the leaders of tomorrow. Thank you. Thanks.